Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, 18th Congressional District since 1995, from New York. How does a New York girl get to Houston, Texas, representing this great community?
Well, you always love the colorfulness of where you came from,
right.
But I can't deny that my true destination and my true destiny had to be a Southwestern girl in Houston, Texas. And I take great credit in having been wise enough to come with my esteemed spouse, who had the privilege of being everything Houston. And so I'm everything Houston. I'm everything the 18th Congressional District means, which is the history of so many people of great leadership that are African Americans. I make note of the fact that they're descendants of enslaved Africans. This is,
sure.
My district is the richness of the history of African Americans from Fifth Ward, called the Nickel, and people coming from Louisiana and settling there with people who had Western tendencies, if you will, to the richness of Independence Heights and Southeast and Sunnyside and Third Ward, First Ward, Second Ward, Fourth Ward, Fifth Ward, and Sixth Ward, all showing historic churches and schools that the African American community spent a lot of time in.
It is amazing when you think about history in Houston because of what happened here in Houston, just in Galveston down the way, when the slaves were found out that, okay, you're free. That's an integral part of our community. And being surrounded by all of that, it gives us a little bit more meaning of what Black history is. What does Black History Month mean to you when you think about that with the backdrop of what our environment is?
Well, you're clearly correct, and obviously you know how excited I am about the Emancipation Trail that we've established that connotes all of that history, and as well to recognize the first purchase of a state park was done by freed slaves, and that was now Emancipation Park. That was the first one purchased in the state by anyone, and I think it was about $8 or 8 people, and they gathered their dollars. Black history for me is living and breathing history. It is never to be forgotten. It is always to be lived, and it is not only to be commemorated in one month. It is to know about the Christy A. Deers and the Moses Leroy and some of the iconic pastors, E. Stanley Branch, who all of these people have passed on, Ovi Duncantel, to know about some of the great civic leaders that have gone on, Judson Robinson's grandfather and Judson Robinson's father, who've gone on to glory, as we say.
Right.
But it is to be respectful and honor that the time that they were in this community, there were deep valleys and high mountains. It is also to be proud of the history of African Americans throughout the nation, and that it includes Dr. Martin Luther King, but it includes his wife, it includes Frederick Douglass, but it includes Booker T. Washington, W.E. Du Bois, who was a globalist, who was in Africa, whose home is in Ghana, that the people in Ghana honor him. It is to know your roots from Africa to the Caribbean to the United States and beyond. And it is for me to have the courage and the energy to introduce H.R. 40. The concept was 40 acres and a mule. This is H.R. 40, a national bill, a commission to study reparations and proposals for a group of people, slaves, enslaved Africans, who for 250 years gave free labor, built the White House, built the United States Capitol that I now walk the halls, without compensation, without workman's comp, without insurance, to be able to look at what is the future? How do you address that? How can we do it together? How can all of us as a community, no matter whether we are an African American or not, look at how you address that and teach the history of that without anger, without anguish, and without envy. And I look forward to people understanding African American history.
As you progress through life from New York to Yale to University of Virginia to Houston, as a judge, a city council member, Congress, along the way, did you experience racism and how did you deal with it?
Oh, I did. As a little girl traveling on the railroads, we sat in the colored car, packing a brown bag lunch to be able to eat while others were going to the cars or being served. Clearly that was the case. I certainly am a product of affirmative action. I always tell people that affirmative action may get you in the door, but it does not get you out of the door successfully. I welcome the fact that at Yale I was affirmative action as it relates to being a woman and an African American. Very few African Americans were admitted to Yale at that time. I take a great sense of appreciation for my parents who did not finish college or did not go to college, had no benefits of college, and were working families, sometimes working and sometimes not. But they made ends meet, but they instilled, as many people will say, into me and my brother, the idea of doing the best for what you had and giving your best. That's why I guess I love this public service. But yes, I did experience it in jobs that were offered and then taken away. Experienced it in going into high rises, and you were perfectly well in your presence there. You had an appointment, but the front desk person looked awry and was shocked and wanted to know where you lost. These are subtle things that happen. Fortunately, I've had to be on the position where I've helped to fight for people, that have experienced discrimination and racism, as much as they have, and as much as I've been able to give to help them in those circumstances.
When the Sheila Jackson Lee book is written, what's going to be that main theme for you, do you think?
I think the main theme is going to be that on this earth, if there was a ditch that someone was in, what level of success did I have in pulling them out? And over my political career, over my moments of service as a city council member, dealing with the homeless, chairing the, and bringing that to the attention of the community, bringing to the attention of the community people living with AIDS, who happen to be of all different races and backgrounds, who in those early years were not welcomed. And I took on the challenge of making sure that that was not the case, fighting to ensure that there remained the kind of school district representation from all parts of the community, fighting to preserve the 18th Congressional District, where there were challenges to eliminate it, but to ensure that it maintained not for me, but for those who would come after. And of course, working on trying to address the criminal justice system. If you are in a ditch, I want my story to be that I tried to help you, and in many instances, I was successful in helping you, in giving back, and using the power that I've been so fortunate to obtain because of this office and the offices that I've held, that it be given for someone else. My message is the power I have is really for the people.
Well, I look forward to the book. I look forward to purchasing it, and I hope you'll sign it when I get it.
Well, you're putting me on the spot.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so very much. Thank you.